Hey everybody, this is Stuart with Wine on a Dime. I'm doing another WSET blog, and today I decided to do something a little bit different. I'm going to actually talk to you about how I'm going through my study pattern for the test. Stay tuned. Alright, so I'm going to talk to you about the way I'm studying and the different kind of steps I'm taking to study for this exam. So number one, read the textbook. Just read it. Don't do anything. Just go through and read the textbook. Number two, go back again through the textbook and take notes. So in this case, I don't do notes. I'm doing note cards. So the way I kind of do my note cards is I have my note, I kind of do it in a weird way. So it'll say, let me find a decent one. Let me find. All right. So, answer one is known for its spicy nose and aromas and flavors of lychee, roses, and baking spices. Typically answer two, color, answer three, bodied, answer four on acid, and answer five on alcohol. I have more on here, but I'm going to stop there. So, this one, because of the description, the lychee is actually a very, or leaky, I gotta figure out how to say that, is a very strong indicator on this answer. So this is answer number one. Gewürztraminer is known for its spicy nose, aromas, flavors, and leaky roses, baking spices. Typically answer number two is golden color. 3, medium to full bodied. And then if I wasn't sure, right here, actually I just wrote here, full bodied. 4, low to medium acid. 5, high alcohol. And then I just take a look and those are my answers. So overall, I got that one right, or at least the first half of that one right. I have 11 answers on that one card. And so the way I do it is I kind of fill in, I read sections and then I kind of summarize them and I take a look at what is the most important section from there, or information from that section, and I kind of create statement cards, and then I omit certain information that will allow for me to remember it. Sometimes I'm better at remembering flavors versus remembering the names of a region or something like that. So what I'll do is, whatever's the hardest for me to remember is what I will take. And then after a few cards of doing hard stuff, I'll make an easy card. And the easy card is sort of allow for me to not be totally brain fried by the end of it, and allow for me to have a quick win, because sometimes I'll have like 3 or 4 cards and I'll suck on 3 or 4 cards and I'll feel like, man, I'm not getting anything done. I'm not really learning anything. And then I'll go to a card, I'll answer 1 or 2 cards after that and I'll do well. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know what? I am making progress. And then once I start getting those difficult cards, then that really makes a big difference. So that is my second step. My third step is in the different sections of the book. I can't show you the book, crap. In the different sections of the book, there are maps, a lot of maps. Also in, let me see if I can find it here. Where did it go? The spec and the study guide, there are maps. Geography is super important. I want to say about half of your wine knowledge is geography. No, let me correct that. 2/3 of everything you need to know about wine is geography and climate, and how the certain geographies have certain climates and why. If you can figure out that like if you can taste a wine and tell that it has certain characteristics, you can pretty much tell in general where those grapes were grown. Based upon the preparation, sometimes you can tell how the wine was made. That right there, like the geography, climate, is huge indicators about where basically the answers to most of the things on the test. Right there. Just, I'm telling you now. So, what I did is I basically took those parts out of the book because I have a scanner. I ran through my computer. I took out the names of the different areas, and I kind of just did my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guide thing. And so then I have the answers on the next page. Then the next thing I did was I created flashcards, because in the spec, it talks about regions and the important appellations within those regions. And so it might say US, and then California, and then you need to know the important appellations within California. You have to do the same thing in Oregon, same thing on Washington, same thing on New York. So there's different things there. Texas wasn't represented. Oddly sad about that. But not oddly sad. I'm a Texan. I'm sad about it. Anyway, the thing that I recommend you do is to do some sort of geographic guide. So take that. Another thing I did was on the mountain ranges, on the rivers, I marked those out too. They get a lot more into geography on level 3. I was going through some of the practice tests, which I'll get to in a second, and it'll be like, at the foothills of this mountain range is where this appellation is located. I missed that question because I suck at geography. I can hardly remember where I live. So this was not an easy one for me to do. However, it was a wake-up call. So do your geography, really study your geography well. And this doesn't only apply for level 3, this is level 2. Level 2 starts talking about geography, so you need to know about that. Geography and climate. Very, very important things you need to know for this exam. I had just mentioned practice test. Number 4? I can't remember where I'm at. 4? Do those practice tests. Those practice tests are going to make you think of things you did not think would be on the exam. Like mountain ranges. Really take them to heart. And you miss something, don't just go, oh, I missed it. Think about why you missed it. And not just why you missed it in terms of the answer being right or wrong. Think about it from a contextual or a subject matter standpoint. Did you miss it because it was talking about the geography of a certain region, or the geography, a type of geography within a region, and you didn't think to study it? Did you, like, at all? Like, the names of mountains. Mountain ranges apparently are very important because they come up on the exam. Well, then that goes into the, like, asking the question, do I have enough knowledge and depth in my geography of these areas to answer questions like that? If the answer is no, and you're seeing practice test questions, maybe you need to go back and restudy those areas with that sort of mindset. So take notes on what you miss and how you missed it and why you missed it. And if it's something like you just didn't read the question and it was like, which of these things is not something, and then you screwed that up, well, then you just took too fast and you need to slow the hell down. But if there are other things that you didn't even think about studying that are showing up on those practice exams, note that and then go back and modify your study strategy. The next, tasting guide. I not only made flashcards on the tasting guide to ensure that I had all of the things like the right types of color descriptors for whites, reds, rosés, all that stuff. I also made sure that as I'm tasting wines on my channel, when I'm done tasting them on the video, I go back and evaluate them as I would to the guide. So I'm not posting that in there because I don't want my channel to be very technical in terms of that stuff. At least in the descriptions. I want people to be able to watch the videos. I want them to be able to say, oh, okay, that all of that makes sense. Yes, I tasted these things, or no, this guy's out of his mind. I don't taste any things like this, and I disagree with his evaluation, whatever. I think that practicing that is very important. Keeping your palate calibrated to those descriptors and those different types of levels, because it's not just, when you look at acid, it's not just low, medium, high, like it is in the number 2. It's low, medium, minus, medium, medium, plus high. And you have to be able to pick that out in the exam, because there's a tasting component on the level 3. 1 red, 1 white. So you have to be able to taste that wine and say, This is a medium acid wine, all this other stuff. So when you're trying to become more technical, this makes a lot more sense for you to actually practice being technical as well. No, too much. 3, 2, 1. Okay, another thing. Specification. The specification is the guide in which you will be examined against. Examined? Tested? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. All right, so the specification. The specification basically outlines the entire examination method for the level 3. So if it says you need to know, because of my agreement with WSET, I can't actually post any of this stuff online. One part might be talking about still wine producing regions of a certain part of the world. You need to know what those regions are. The major appellations, the Grand Crus, stuff like that. It helps to know all of that stuff. The way I'm doing this is through sort of like a jigsaw puzzle, but not in the way that I wish I could. If I had money, I would totally make a jigsaw puzzle. The way I'm doing this is I will have a card for each country. So I'll say United States, Australia, do all this other stuff. And I mash up all of the other cards. So the next card might say, I don't know, like Bordeaux. So I pull Bordeaux out, and I have to put it next to France. Because if I don't, I'm wrong. Then I might pull out another card. And it might say Clare Valley. Clare Valley's not in Bordeaux. It's in Australia. So I need to go put that next to Australia. You see what I'm getting at? Pull out a Pomerol. Ah, there you go. East Bank Bordeaux. Boom. Slap it next to the Bordeaux card. So then I'll say France, Bordeaux, and I'll have all the regions. Burgundy, all the regions. Côte d'Or, all the regions. So, like, all the appellations and everything underneath it. Like, the sub things, the Grand Crus, everything I need to know is right up through there. So I can look at all of these cards. And by the time I'm looking at all of these cards, it's matched what's in the spec. So then I at least know all of the regions that are associated with. The hard part after that is knowing what grapes are grown, what are the laws within those regions, how can you label things, all of that stuff. Speaking of another study tip, labeling. The best thing you can do is to have someone start sending you pictures of wine labels and have them have all of the information about it. You describe everything you can about those wine labels and you send it back. So, for example, if you got a label for, I don't have a wine bottle over here, for this Cupcake Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. Get a picture of the label, and I should be able to write enough about it. So I should be able to say, this is going to be a probably medium minus to medium body wine with a lot of passion fruit, gooseberry, grapefruit, citrus, probably medium plus to high acid, probably about a medium finish, maybe medium minus, depending on how well. I'll tell you in a second. You should be able to talk about the climate of the area, because you should see that it's from Marlborough. You should be able to talk about, in general, growing practices of that area, the traditional winemaking of that area. And you don't write this as definitives. You can say, like, in general, wines in this area are made from blah, 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 and you can kind of talk about that. But essentially, you want to be able to take a look at a label and be able to say, because this is a 2017, it's all this other stuff, it's not going to really have any tertiary notes. The way that it's prepped is made by inert vessels, so it's not going to have really very many secondary notes. It's going to be a lot of just bright citrus fruit with these types of characteristics, this type of acid, this type of alcohol, etc. That's what you want to be able to do when you're looking at labels. So practice the labeling. The labeling is important. So just don't stick to one label. Make sure you're also taking a look at things like kind of wines that you may not try. I don't know. Like for example, I love myself some Beaujolais Nouveau. Can't remember the last time I've had a Beaujolais Cru. So it probably would be good for me to buy one, evaluate it, and then maybe have someone save the label and send it to me a month from now and say, hey, evaluate this wine. Because I guarantee you, with how many wines I review on this channel, there's a good chance I won't remember it. So things like that. Like, it doesn't hurt to have those types of things in place. I don't even know what tip I'm on at this point. I'm just going to keep moving. So, know your production methods. How to make a red wine, how to make a white wine. How do those processes differ? What are some of the winemaker choices that can be used that influence that? How are those winemaker choices basically catalyzed? For example, if you wanted to start MLF, malolactic fermentation, what kind of temperature, what kind of sulfite, like SO2 levels do you need? Sulfur dioxide. I mean, these things are important. You have to kind of know these things. Know the laws for distribution. There's just so much. That's kind of where I'm. This video's gone on a lot longer than I thought it would, so I'm gonna kind of end it here. Let me do a quick summary because there's so much I could go on forever about this. Quick summary. 1, first, just read the book. Just reading the book front to back. That's not a hard read. It is not. But it will give you an idea of the complexity that you're about to jump into. 2, take notes on the sections you feel are the most valuable. Like I said, I like to take notes by doing these index card things where I can just flip them and go from there. Do that. That will help. Taking the notes will help. Do the practice exams. Find a way to learn your geography. Like, I gave a couple different ways. I went and I put these things on my computer. I whited them out, and I just basically set up a way for me to go in there and start filling them in spreadsheet style like you're in high school. Another method is that card method that I mentioned, kind of area, major regions, sub-regions, appellations, cruise, everything. Like, just have all that stuff spread out. Make sure you can also do that with varietals. So if there are certain regions that only allow for specific types of varietals to be grown, it's important that you know that, because if you say a varietal is from another area, you're going to be wrong if legally they cannot be grown there. So you need to know that stuff. So you can do that same thing saying France, Loire Valley, these are the grapes, the principal grapes that typically are there. And then it's important to do the practice exams so you can understand where your study gaps are. Don't be hard on yourself when you're doing those practice exams. Sometimes you'll do, like, just crush one of them and move on. And the next chapter, even after you're taking notes and you've read it and all that other stuff, you could totally screw it up. And that just might be because you didn't really grasp the full extent to what you needed to study. So don't be hard on yourself for that. Just go through and get it done. Take notes, use it as a learning experience, and move on. Follow the spec. The spec is very important. There's different types of sections within the spec. Make sure you follow that. You go through and you learn according to the spec. And do your tasting notes. Your tasting notes are important. You can't slack off on the tastings. You have to be able to sit there and evaluate that wine. And do not, I know there's ways of doing like a self-study level 3. I still recommend you find someone who's gone through it or someone who's at a higher level and calibrate your palate. Calibrating your palate is so important. There are times where I've tasted something and I said, oh, this is a high wine with high acid wine with a medium body, medium alcohol, this. And the instructor was like, yes, you're right. And then I gave myself a pat on the back and I took another sip of wine, and that one I didn't spit out because I had earned that one, damn it. But there was another time where I went, this is this, and no, I got like half of them right. And it was because it was a varietal I was not very familiar with. So calibrating your palate is very important. Make sure you do that, and make sure you stay in practice with evaluating the wine according to the level 3 tasting guide, or whatever level you're at tasting guide. Oh, and the last one. Make sure you study labeling. Labeling is important. Focus on how labels are in different areas, different regions, and make sure that when you're looking at a label, you can describe it. You should, by the time you're done with your level 3, you should be able to go to a grocery store, grab a wine off a shelf, and be able to know what you're getting into just by looking at it. Alright, so this video has gone on well long enough. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Anyway, this has been Stuart with Wine on the Dime. If you like today's video, or if you like my study tips, or if you have study tips of your own, I would love for you to post them in the comment section below. And I will see you all again soon with another episode of the WSET Study Guide, Study Vlog Series. I'm tired. I don't even know what time it is. I've been studying for hours at this point. I just want to go to bed. I will see you all again soon with another episode. Goodbye.